Hey y'all, I know that some of you are not super social, but I know that even you may be having a hard time during this quarantine time. But for those of you who are social, I know it can be particularly difficult. I wanted to talk today a little bit about depression. I wanted to explore three questions about depression. Number one, where does it come from? Number two, can Christians be depressed? And number three, if you're feeling depressed, what do you do now? So the first question is, where does depression come from? And I think that depression can have one of three origins. It can come from our body, from our soul, or some combination of both of them. So God created us with a body and with a soul, but we messed up this world through our sin. So now all of us are born into this world affected by sin. It affects both our body and our soul. You know this because you may know people who are born without limbs, or they are born with genetic diseases, or people, they get cancer, they get all kinds of illnesses. We live in a broken world and our bodies are susceptible to that. So it would seem to me that our brains can be susceptible to those kind of things as well. I'm not a medical doctor and I don't know the science inside and out, but it just seems logical that our brains, or some people's brains, may be more prone to depression because of some kind of chemical thing or other things going on with our bodies because we live in a broken world. But our soul is also broken. All of us enter this world alienated from God. All of us enter this world also prone to particular besetting sins. You probably can examine your own life and know that you may struggle with anger, or struggle with greed, or struggle with envy, or have particular struggles to you. I know I do. And it would seem to me that it's logical to believe that some people may be more prone to being depressed, being melancholy, struggling with anxiety or discouragement because we live in a broken world. God has not brought us to heaven yet, and so we can struggle with these things. Or I think the most logical answer is it's some combination of body and soul brokenness working together or not working together, because God created us a unity. What goes on with our physical body, if we're in pain, that can affect our soul. We can become irritable, or if our soul is anxious, that can come out with our body sweating, or other physical manifestations. We are a united person, body and soul together. Depression can affect both parts of it, or come from both parts of it. And so the second question is, can Christians be depressed? And I think the answer is pretty easy. Yes, they can be. We are not in heaven yet. We still struggle with the effects of living in a broken world. Some Christians may have biological predispositions to depression, or you may be depressed because we're facing a difficult time. Your whole routine, your whole life has been upended right now. That is understandable. But know that God sees you, He knows what you're going through, and He has given us the church and community to help one another. So the third question is, okay, I'm feeling this way, now what? And I think there are a couple things that you can do. Number one is relate to God. God created you to be in relationship with Him, and so I would encourage you to memorize Matthew chapter 6. Depression and anxiety can often go together, and so Matthew 6, Jesus powerfully tells us not to worry. You need to refresh your mind with truth. So memorize Matthew chapter 6. Also, God has given us the church, the body of Christ, to encourage one another. So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling discouraged, call a Christian friend, call a youth group leader and talk to them. Calling someone and talking to them, or FaceTiming them and talking to them, is a higher level of connection than just texting them. So make it a point to call them. So relate to God and His Word, call Christian community, and also take care of your physical body. Eat right and exercise. Those things can help us immensely. We know this. We know from being a very little kid that eating fruit, eating vegetables, eating meat is good. Eating a bunch of sugar and processed stuff is not good for us. Remember, God created us as a unity, a body and soul united in one person, right? And so how you feed your body will affect how you feel, and how you feel in your soul as well, because how we feel in our body affects our soul, and how we feel in our soul affects our body. Focus on the Lord, focus on Christian community, and focus on taking care of your physical body. And these things can help But also reach out to a medical doctor if you need those issues because they can help with the physical side of things. I can help with the spiritual side of things. This Sunday, we'll meet for our Zoom call at youth group at 5 o'clock. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite texts, which deals with depression, and we'll walk through that. Also, we're here, your leaders are here, so call us if you need us. I also created a checklist for you to build healthy habits in your life that you can print off and use to begin developing these things. That's a resource that you can find in this email. Thanks, guys, and I hope to see you on Sunday.